After watching his empire burn to ash in a few days and ghosting the internet for over a year, ImAllexx has finally crawled back to spin his narrative. But is this comeback enough to save his skin? Or did he just pour gasoline on the fire? It might just bury his reputation even deeper. He claims, "This video is my answer to the accusations from my ex, Alice Hayes, who I dated for most of 2023. He continues, "Alice hit, kicked, and abused me, emotionally, verbally, physically. She threatened me and constantly blackmailed me." What is up, guys? I am the Then Point, bringing you weekly deep dives. Today, we are dissecting the chaotic update in the absolute nightmare surrounding this YouTuber, ImAllexx. We are breaking down his bombshell response, how it impacts Alice's claims, and why the internet seems to despise him now more than ever. Last year, I covered the avalanche of receipts and accusations thrown at creator ImAllexx by his ex, Alice Hayes. Quick recap. Alice dropped an 80-page manifesto and videos exposing a genuinely dark side of this guy. Over their 9-month fling, allegations surfaced that Alex was a constant abuser and emotional manipulator. He allegedly threatened Alice in horrific ways. From degrading insults to vowing to break her neck, Alex reportedly crossed every line. He was the ultimate nightmare partner. Audio surfaced of him screaming, "Now that it is too ficking late, you admit you did everything ficking wrong. But when it counts, when you should lay down like a good effing dog, you don't. You fight back. I don't know why you fight. You are losing. You'll admit you fed it up anyway. It is weird, and I know it. You were going to admit you effed it all up." But the verbal assaults were just the start. Alex allegedly escalated to physical violence. Alice claims that by the end, he had struck her twice incidents dating back to when they first moved in together. And immediately post-breakup, the toxicity didn't stop with Alice. He was caught stalking a previous ex. He even hoarded intimate photos of them. Alex was radioactively toxic. It was only after the split that he tried a softer approach. A 24-minute audio clip shows him begging, "I could do no wrong. I felt like I was the effing man. Look at me. I do all this effing work. I do everything. I try to do this. You know, nobody appreciates it. I know you did though. I know you appreciate the effort I used to put in. Then I stopped because I had you. You were my girlfriend. We lived together. The deeper we got, the less I tried." Bad news for Alex. That bridge wasn't just burnt. It was incinerated. His life was about to implode. After Alice's expose dropped, the internet collectively turned on him. Viewers dislike-bombed his content. He bled 200,000 subscribers. His disgusting behavior was rotting his platform from the inside out. Then, the final nail in the coffin, his inner circle spoke up. They disavowed him and backed Alice. Alex's career, reputation, and community were effectively dust. This nosedive accelerated when he refused to address it. People thought he had gone silent forever, but oh no, he had a plan. Could he salvage the wreckage? Or make it worse? On March 20th, 2025, Alex resurfaced with a grueling 2-hour video titled "My Response." He opens, "This is my answer to the allegations." He references Alice Hayes, his partner for most of 2023. He claims, "Alice hit, kicked, and abused me in every way possible. She threatened and blackmailed me constantly." He alleges she continues to harass him with false information and fabricating stories online. To kick things off, Alex tackled a specific claim. Alice said he was under investigation and flagged in the Clare's Law database. Alex denies this completely. He argues police never called him, and his name isn't on the website. But there is more. He insists Alice shouldn't legally be able to discuss an active investigation. He points out contradictions in her private messages. He claims she wrote the doc knowing the police story was total fiction. His logic? If it were real, she couldn't talk about it. In Alex's world, this investigation was invented to paint him as a criminal and spike public outrage. While that is a theory, Alex's understanding of Clare's Law is fundamentally broken. It doesn't work like a standard rap sheet. It is a disclosure scheme. UK police use it to track reports or suspicions of domestic abuse. The official site defines the domestic violence disclosure scheme as a policy granting people a specific right, the right to ask if a partner has a history of violence. The way Alex framed it, he acted like she was branding him a convict. In reality, it is a safety measure. Next up, the fabrication allegations. He claims she edited and hid facts to curate a narrative where he is the villain, specifically manipulating her Google Doc. From silencing critics to outright fabrication, Alex paints a picture of Alice not just as a liar, but as a master manipulator of the narrative. The moment the internet detectives started poking holes in her story, Alice went nuclear, firing off threats and personal insults like, "Lose my number" to anyone asking questions. It was a classic scorched earth policy. If you caught a slip-up in her manifesto, you didn't just get blocked, you got verbally assaulted before she slammed the door. As the community flagged her lies in real time, Alice was frantically live editing her Google Doc, scrubbing the evidence as fast as people could find it. She wasn't just fixing typos, she was burying the smoking gun specifically. Cropped screenshots proving she used the exact same racial slurs she claimed were deal breakers for her. This destroyed her credibility, paving the way for Alex to drop the biggest bombshell of all. He claims he wasn't the aggressor, he was the victim. And he didn't just say it, he proved it, pulling up receipts and unedited snippets from her own document that painted a very different picture. Here is where it gets dark. The files reportedly show Alice confessing to getting physical with him multiple times, while simultaneously inventing violent scenarios that never happened. Alex claims she took minor early relationship drama and spun it into a horror movie, even though he was the one whispering to friends back then that she was beating him. When Alice caught wind of him speaking out, she didn't just deny it, she threatened to lawyer up and sue him into silence if he dared mention the abuse again. She spent the whole relationship warning that his version of events wouldn't match hers, likely because she knew deep down that the truth was her enemy. She sold the world a story of a monster, describing a brutal fight where Alex allegedly dragged her, gagged her, and put her in a chokehold. She pinned this assault to October 19th, just days after they moved in together, yet the digital record is completely silent. No angry texts, no aftermath discussion. There isn't a single message implying tension, let alone domestic violence, leading Alex to the firm conclusion that the entire event was a complete fiction. According to Alex, she weaponized these fake abuse allegations to hold him hostage in the relationship, effectively blackmailing him while she was the one throwing punches. Now, Alex isn't claiming to be a saint. He admits to getting physical once, but argues he was pushed to the brink after she began relentlessly mocking his weight and chronic illness. The trigger was apparently his refusal to keep his shirt on. She allegedly told him his medical condition was disgusting and she didn't want to look at it. They were lying in bed when she dropped the ultimatum. Put a shirt on to hide your body, or get out and sleep on the couch. He refused, arguing he had every right to sleep in his own bed, pointing out the irony that she constantly nagged him about not spending enough time with her. That defiance set her off. As he turned his back to ignore her insults and sleep, she reportedly spun around and drove her foot into his lower spine. He swore at her to back off, which only fueled her rage. She ramped up the violence, delivering a donkey kick straight to his neck. He claims that when she shoved him and swung, he grabbed her arms and pinned her to the floor, insisting this was the singular moment he used force, and only to stop her attack. He maintains this was purely a defensive maneuver, a desperate reaction after taking repeated kicks to the skull. By this stage, the relationship was a ticking time bomb, where even the slightest misstep would trigger a nuclear explosion. We're talking about fights triggered by his tone of voice when speaking to their cat, tiny sparks that reignited a cycle of toxicity. Alex admits he helped keep alive. He confesses that being punched and slapped turned him into a person he hated, leading him to say horrible things in retaliation behavior he refuses to defend. But while he owns his mistakes, he insists the timeline is being manipulated. Alice is conveniently leaving out the part where she struck the first blow. The tension stemmed from his frustration that she refused to apologize for getting physical, even during mundane moments like playing with the pet. He lashed out via text, a mistake he owns, and claims he tried to sever ties to stop the madness. But Alice allegedly refused to let him go, threatening to destroy his reputation publicly if he left a campaign she had secretly already begun. She was already in TikTok comment sections insinuating he was flagged under Claire's law, a massive accusation that eventually reached Alex's inner circle. When confronted by his friends, he tried to provide context without making excuses, fully accepting that the toxicity was a two-way street. Alice played the plausible deniability game, claiming she never technically named him, all while engaging with comments that identified him as a predator before deleting the evidence. She pushed the false narrative that he was a registered offender, but she was sloppy. His friends saw the TikToks before she could scrub them. She had even gone so far as to follow his entire friend group. This behavior prompted a post-breakup conference call where Alex finally came clean. He laid everything on the table, explaining for the first time that the physical abuse in the house was coming from her, not him. Even then, he emphasized that being a victim didn't absolve him of his own toxic behavior during their chaotic time together. He admitted he was deeply ashamed of who he became in that relationship, opening up to a specific friend in the group known as Inaba. Inaba, a fellow content creator, messaged Alex privately, urging him to document everything and share the full story of Alice's abuse. He assured Alex that the group chat was a safe space, promising that any evidence shared would be kept under the strictest lock and key. Despite Alex's explicit fears about leaks, the betrayal was instant moments later. Alice messaged him directly. She sent him fresh screenshots of that exact private conversation with Inaba, proving there was a mole feeding her information in real time. It was obvious she'd find out if I so much as breathed in another girl's direction, seeing as she was practically cyberstalking my entire friend list. Sadly, the toxicity didn't just vanish when the relationship crashed and burned. Alex admitted he tried to extend an olive branch, only to be hit with even more mind games and alleged fabrications from Alice. Keep in mind, they had been history for months by that point. Alice was still blowing up his phone, obsessing over random girls he followed on Instagram or old friends he'd reconnected with. She sent him this nasty text claiming any girl he talked to would be trash anyway, then proceeded to absolutely tear them apart with insults. After swearing up and down in her manifesto that she wasn't a stalker or controlling, I finally re-added my friends once I realized I was being played like a fiddle. And let's not forget the blackmail. Turns out, Alice had secretly grabbed my phone and unfollowed people herself. It's not like I was following a bunch of ex-flings anyway. Again, we were totally done for months, but Alice leaks these texts and clips of me begging to get back together and apologizing. I know I look completely unhinged here. I was bouncing off the walls emotionally, just desperate for any way to fix this mess. You can hear it in the voice notes and clips. She leaked her relentless manipulation was wrecking me, and I was just saying whatever I thought would stop the bleeding at that moment. I just wanted the fighting and the blackmail to stop. For the rest of his rebuttal, Alex broke down a laundry list of twisted events, outright lies and spun narratives that filled Alice's tell-all. From demanding his phone password to hunt for dirt, to admitting she had mental struggles but obsessing over his, Alex wanted the world to see she wasn't the saint she pretended to be. But here's the kicker. Does Alice allegedly being a manipulator suddenly give Alex a free pass for his own toxic behavior? The audience wasn't buying it. They absolutely ratioed the video with dislikes and roasted him in the comments, saying stuff like, "You really have zero room to whine about the internet not waiting for your side of the story, especially after you threw your boy Slazer under the bus the second you could with total lies. You're both in the wrong here. It's just a mutually destructive, toxic mess." Plus, I don't think anyone besides those two and maybe the cat will ever know what really went down. While Alex did debunk a lot of the accusations, he barely owned up to his own mess and conveniently skipped over the clips showing him acting manic. That massive segment about the cat, it felt totally pointless and sketchy, having nothing to do with the actual abuse claims. Either way, the internet had finally heard his defense. But if you thought the drama ended there, you're dreaming. Just hours after Alex's video dropped, Alice fired back with a storm of tweets. She doubled down on her accusations and tried to debunk his debunking. She started by dropping the police report receipts. Alice posted DMs with an investigator and the report she filed. From her angle, this was the smoking gun to paint Alex as a suspect in an active case. But look closer, none of those screenshots actually proved any charges were being pressed. It seemed more like the cops were just doing a standard follow-up on a report. It wasn't the legal doomsday scenario Alice was hyping it up to be. Next, Alice pivoted to the "we were both toxic" defense, tweeting things like, "All you've done is try to brand me a liar," instead of manning up and taking responsibility. And I never manipulated him to stay. Yeah, I was 100% toxic back after dealing with months of abuse from this man. Should I have walked away sooner? Absolutely. But I was terrified. It took him getting physical a second time for me to finally bail. While Alice was fixated on how Alex's video was a personal betrayal, the audience cared more about the hard facts. Specifically, why did she seemingly lie about her ex not having any mental health diagnosis? Alice clapped back, claiming Alex got diagnosed after the split. And the timeline actually fits. The paperwork is dated July 3rd, 2024. That's a full month after her initial expose dropped. But the fact that she kept pushing that undiagnosed narrative months after he actually got the diagnosis raised some massive red flags. Did she genuinely not know? Or was she just trying to drag his reputation further through the mud? Either way, Alex wasn't going to let her have the final word. He fired off another statement: "The stories in this report are pure fiction. Alice falsely accused me of tackling her and putting her in a headlock on only our second day living together. Even though her own document claimed it happened on the 4th, there's zero proof backing her version, since we can't see Alice's original Google Doc. We have to take Alex's word on the date discrepancies, but checking the police report against her public claims does show inconsistencies." Alex then went in on how Alice was still lying about not being an abuser, specifically her claim that she never kicked him in bed. He wrote, "Alice says there's no text proof of the kicking, yet she's replying to a screenshot where she literally admits to kicking me, and even justifies it because I was sleeping without a shirt." Alex didn't stop there. He highlighted two other major lies Alice told publicly. One was in a now-deleted tweet where she swore none of her story was made up, which we know isn't true. The other was post-breakup, where Alice tried to frame Alex's gifts and begging as harassment, even though she was the one asking him to do it. Reading from his statement, Alice also wrote in her report that I was harassing her, even though I was the one trying to break up multiple times. She told the cops I harassed her by sending letters and a teddy bear. 2 things she explicitly asked me to send, which she then weaponized to construct a police case against me. Regardless of the messy details, Alex made sure to own his part in the toxicity and promised the internet he'd work on himself. This isn't an excuse for my behavior, which I admitted in the video and in my psychiatric evaluation, where I was completely open about being verbally abusive toward her. He claims he spent months begging for forgiveness behind the scenes, desperately trying to scrub his record clean before the camera started rolling. I take full ownership for the mess I made. And while I was busy issuing apologies, Alex was working overtime to salvage his crumbling reputation. But just when he thought he could bury the past, the fallout exploded. His pathetic attempt at damage control didn't silence Alice. It triggered an avalanche. A tidal wave of fresh allegations hit the internet. On March 31st, 2025, Alice dropped a nuclear bomb. A massive 750-page manifesto complete with audio tapes. She laid out the entire toxic timeline of their relationship. Now, we aren't going to read the whole novel today, but we are going to dissect the smoking guns within that file. We need to stack her evidence up against the fairy tale Alex spun in his apology video. First on the chopping block, his twisted narrative regarding the police involvement. Alex tried to gaslight his audience into believing she lied about his criminal record, claiming you can't be on the Claire's Law Registry without a conviction. That is a flat-out lie. He basically said, "She's faking it because I wasn't convicted." Wrong. Alice clapped back hard, clarifying that she reported every single threat to the authorities, receipts included. Just because the cops didn't slap handcuffs on him doesn't mean he's innocent. She was literally handed the paperwork to file a restraining order against him. He threatened to end her life, folks. She didn't pull the trigger on the court case because she was terrified and exhausted, a choice she openly regrets today. Alice's version of events matches the actual legal statutes of Claire's Law perfectly, which blows a massive hole in Alex's defense strategy. Either the guy is completely ignorant of the law, or he was intentionally manipulating the facts to paint Alice as a liar. Unfortunately for him, the only reputation getting destroyed here is his own. Alice didn't just talk, she brought screenshots. She leaked chat logs where Alex explicitly admits he was the villain in their story, with messages that say, "You keep acting like I'm the victim here." No, I never said you abused me. I said the situation was toxic. I know how bad things got, and I hate myself for it. Let that sink in. These texts completely dismantle every single defense he mounted in his YouTube comeback. It proves he sat in front of a camera and willfully lied to millions of people. He didn't just twist the truth, he invented a completely different reality. He accused her of being a violent abuser, slapping, punching, kicking, just to distract everyone from the fact that he was the monster in the relationship. He tried to bury these facts, lying through his teeth on Twitter. But wait, it gets even slimier. Alice revealed the real reason she went nuclear with that Google Doc. It wasn't for clout, it was because Alex wouldn't stop harassing her to keep her mouth shut. She wrote, "I had zero intention of going public with this. I wanted to move on, but he kept flooding my DMs, demanding silence. That pressure is exactly why I decided to burn it all down." She was trying to be subtle on TikTok, but he forced her hand. To prove it, she uploaded a gallery of his desperate, panic-stricken messages. He's in her inbox, sweating bullets about people connecting the dots, writing, "Hey Alice, people are dissecting your posts. I get that you need to vent, and your feelings are valid, but this is destroying me. Everyone is asking why I haven't responded, and it's backing me into a corner. I really don't want to address this publicly. It's gonna blow up in both our faces. We both messed up, and I know we regret it. I hate how this ended. I wish I could go back and change everything." The guy knew exactly one thing. If Alice talked, his career was toast. He was scrambling to keep a lid on it, but ironically, his frantic attempts to silence her became the catalyst for his exposure. Next, let's talk about the infamous bed-kicking incident. Alex claims she assaulted him for being quote-unquote fat. Alice's receipts tell a very different story. She clarifies. "He claims I kicked him in the head because of his weight? Complete fiction. I pushed him away because he was sweaty and disgusting." His story keeps changing. First it's kicks, then it's abuse. The truth is, I shoved him off me because I didn't want him touching me after he'd been verbally abusive. Being sweaty was part of it, sure. But mostly, I just wanted him away from me. I never physically kicked him out of bed. This creates a direct contradiction with the sob story Alex sold to his viewers. Remember his version? He painted her as this supportive partner who suddenly turned into a bully. He claimed she started body-shaming him out of nowhere. He said she demanded he keep his shirt on because she was repulsed by his skin condition and couldn't stand looking at him. According to Alex, they were in bed, he took his shirt off, and she gave him an ultimatum. Put it back on, or sleep on the couch. He claims he stood his ground, refusing to leave his own bed, while she complained he was being distant. Then, in his twisted retelling, she snapped. He says he turned his back to sleep, and she launched a full-blown assault on his lower back. He told her to get lost, and she allegedly escalated, delivering what he called a donkey kick. He claims she kicked him right in the neck and the back of the head with so much force that he was launched off the mattress. He admits he exploded in rage, screaming insults at her, which he claims is his only regret in the situation. But when you look at the Facebook messages, the narrative crumbles. She denied the severity, and he didn't push back. And that other story about the cat? Totally debunked. Alex tried to pin animal abuse on her, but in the DMs, even he admits it never happened. Alice texts him plainly, "I never hit you, I never punched you in the face," and Alex's response, "I only asked because I'm stressed and trying to avoid messaging you." Then he drops the smoking gun. "Sorry, I didn't mean to accuse you of actually beating me up." He literally admits the abuse allegations were bogus. Back then, we all gave him the benefit of the doubt, thinking it was just crossed wires. But looking at the receipts now, especially with the fans demanding answers, it is clearly suspicious. He swore up and down that he sent one reply and then ghosted her. But here is the kicker. Nowhere in those leaked chats does he ever mention Alice being violent. Funny how that story only appeared when he needed to play the victim in his comeback video, twisting their history. It is a classic move from his playbook. He lied about not smashing her screens in the video, yet the DM history shows him admitting to the damage. Then he tries to flip the script. She is claiming I broke her stuff? Total lie. I never touched a single thing of hers while we were together. But the evidence says otherwise. Look at these messages. Alice supposedly forgot to include photos of her broken monitors sent days after their fight. This was right after she accused him of attacking her and threatened to call the cops. His excuse? He just wanted her to leave him alone. He claims he was desperate to escape the relationship. But for a guy who allegedly wanted nothing to do with her post-breakup, he sure spent a lot of time crying and begging for a second chance. Listen to him gaslighting her, blaming his meltdown on passion. I am holding this photo of us, and I wish you could step out of the picture and be here with me. I need my Alice back. God, I want you back more than anything on earth, and knowing how you see me now. What I did, I am never going to be able to fix that. I am stuck with this regret. Ha! Those crocodile tears were just the tip of the iceberg. Alice's document reveals a mountain of other instances where he either twists the facts or flat out lies about what happened. And whenever someone calls him on it, he deflects and attacks. Hey, you are just twisting everything! You are telling the story in a completely wrong order! It is absolutely sickening. I am actually so fed up with the way you all purposely mistell events. It is driving me up the wall. I was trying to talk to you, but you are being a total nightmare. I know you hate that word, but you are being a nightmare. You are being incredibly rude to me. I do not get why. I ask you to speak clearly, and then you start hurling insults, calling me autistic. Like as if that is remotely acceptable? As if that is okay? He actually tries to justify his toxic behavior by claiming she was rude to him. Listen to this spin. I literally said, calm down, everything is fine, this is not a big deal. And you made it a huge deal. But you were clearly still being rude. Your whole attitude was just horrific. I tried to de-escalate, and then you started acting weird. Ignoring me. Walking right past me. Refusing to look at me. It is like you decided right then to purposely antagonize me for some reason. I was just telling you to chill because I did not want to clean everything up while you were in a miserable mood. I was telling you to stop because it does not have to be this way. But with you, it always has to be this way. It is always miserable. Everything is always a disaster with you. I have so much pressure on me, and you know it. I am trying to prep for tomorrow, trying to figure out why I am broke. Because someone stole $70,000 from me. You could not even imagine. Now, while he clearly caused most of the damage, Alice is not pretending to be a saint. She acknowledged her role in the toxic cycle, writing, I retaliated poorly, and I will forever apologize for the harsh words I used that hurt people. But after his lies, the only right move is to expose everything, from both sides. I am not hiding from my past because I truly want to move on, heal, and become a better person. It is safe to say he never expected this to leak. That is why he felt comfortable twisting the narrative in his initial response. He tried to frame Alice as the villain, but now that the files are out, there is zero room for interpretation. When he dropped that video, everyone expected receipts. We thought he would bring fresh evidence or a new perspective. Instead, he destroyed his own reputation. He lied, manipulated, and hid the truth to accuse her of the very things he was guilty of. Yes, some internet drama gets blown out of proportion, but the proven facts cast a long, dark shadow over his career. Threatening to cave her head in, degrading her via text, and getting physical? You cannot just sweep that under the rug. especially coming from a guy who built a brand on judging others for way less. Whether he tries to reply to a 750-page manifesto remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, the internet will never